What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Major League Success. We have Rhonda Crouse with us with Coldwell Banker Realty. And Rhonda, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to come on here and to, really just talk about your journey. We talk about our journey in life and the journey leading up to real estate. And I'm very passionate. We were talking beforehand, and I'm very passionate of helping people getting into this business. Really letting people know that there's not one way to have success, right? There's not a very specific path, right? A lot of times as real estate agents and professionals, we come from different careers and we have different successes and all of those things. So I'm excited. We've
I'm
been
excited.
social media friends for a while,
Mhm.
and honestly, this is our first time really connecting. So I always find these shows even more interesting because I get to learn with the audience a little bit more about you. So Rhonda, thanks so much for jumping on here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
Rhonda, we always start growing up. I always find when I interview and I talk to people that there's usually something, from someone's childhood or college or early career that really has a great impact in their business down the road. And that's why we always start. I'm always curious of what was life like for you growing up, as a kid. Did you have hobbies, interests,
Mhm.
um, where'd you grow up at? What city? Are you local or not? So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I grew up in Columbus on the south side of Columbus, near Schiller Park. That was basically my playground. My sister, my brother, and a couple cousins were very close. We ran around, played, just did good old fashioned kid stuff, built forts. We went to the swimming pool from the time they opened until the time they closed. We doubled each other on our bicycles. We got one day off of school, I think, in the whole, 20 years that we were, in school in Columbus Public. But grew up on the south side of Columbus, and that's where I resided until I was 37 years old. And then I moved to Northwest Ohio, still keeping all of my ties in Columbus and keeping my home in Columbus as well. So I moved to Ada, Ohio in 2007, and I maintain a home there as well as an apartment in Columbus that helps me with my travels all around the state.
Awesome, awesome. Now, growing up and going through your high school years, I mean, I always find it fascinating, interesting of like, was there anything that made you want to be an entrepreneur, right? Because as real estate agents, we're really small business owners, right? We really have to have that entrepreneur mindset. Was there any of that within your family or no?
No, so I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. I don't think anyone in my family owned a home. I may have been the first person to purchase a home in my family. I was 24 when I purchased my first home, and that was one of my big goals. Was by age 25, I wanted to have my home. And so I reached that goal, but it was very hard because of course, I went through the steps that you're supposed to, getting with a lender, getting your pre-approval and starting, there. And this was back in 1994. And so I went to the lender, which was a local bank. They had some great programs. I got approved for $30,000. And I said, well, what am I going to buy with this? Like a trailer? Which is fine. And I would have looked because my goal was to buy my first home. So whether it
Yeah.
was a trailer, whatever it was, I was doing that. And I bought my first home in the neighborhood I grew up in. That's the first thing I did was once I got my pre-approval, I said, well, where would I want to live? I'm a single lady. At this time, where would I want to live? And so where I felt most safe was where I grew up, which was the South Side. And most of those families still lived there. It might have been grandparents, but a lot of those families were still there, the families that I grew up with as a
Yeah.
child. And so I bought my first home on the south side of Columbus. I got approved for $30,000. I started looking in the area, and I said, I'm not going to find anything. And the most beautiful house on the street, where I grew up, I said, man, I would love to have that house, but that lady's been there forever. She's never going to sell it. The next day it was for sale. And I didn't even need to really, look at it. I knew I wanted it. And so that was my house. I bought that house. Beautiful little cottage house, wrought iron fencing, all the characteristics of German village era. You know, slate roof. It was just a beautiful little home for me and my two dogs at that time. And I owned that home for about 30 years. And then I sold it to my son. So he actually purchased it from me when he was 19.
Wow.
And then he lived there and did some remodeling and ended up selling it as well. So that was my first home. And the reason why I got into real estate was because nobody wanted to help me. There wasn't enough money in it for them to waste their time on
Wow.
me for $30,000. And here I am, just this girl with a goal, and nobody wants to help because it's all about what's in it for me. How much do I get? What do I get out of it? And the lady who helped me, her name is Penny Call. She has passed away. She worked with Coldwell Banker. She was my realtor, and I think she inspired me to be a realtor because she took that time to help me. I wanted to help others reach their goals, reach their dreams, and it wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
So she did help me with that, and that was my first home, and I'm so grateful to her. That may be why I went to Coldwell Banker, because such a connection. So that's how I got my first home, and I had no experience entrepreneur. I never even thought about doing anything on my own as far as business wise.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
Well, let's talk about that because it's interesting. What going through high school and up until that point, what did you go to college? Did you jump into the career field? What were those steps
Yeah.
after high school graduation?
So, little secret here, I played hooky at high school a lot. Um, the things that were most interesting to me were photography and science, things like that. So I wasn't a real good high school student. I did quit high school and got a GED. So I did that. I should have graduated in 88. I received my GED, General Equivalency Diploma, in 1990. Yes, I have many degrees. I'm a lifetime learner. It just doesn't stop. So I have, I went into real estate. That was my first real career. And I did that from 2000 to about 2007. And I didn't get out of it because of the market by no means. But my son was, 4 or 5 years old, a toddler, and he was starting to play sports. And with real estate, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
So I said, like, I need a real job, 9 to 5 job.
Yeah.
So I went to dental assisting school, and I received a diploma in dental assisting. I started dental assisting. Just regular old dental is kind of boring. So I went into some specialties, orthodontics, oral surgery, and that's where I got stuck, was oral surgery. I love the oral surgery piece of it. So from there, I went on to further my education and received an associate's degree in surgical technologist. So I, worked hand in hand, side by side with the surgeons, handing them the instruments during surgery. So I did that in the medical field for about 15 years, all along, side of that, working, other part-time jobs, because I was still continuing my education. So I received a medical assisting degree, dental assisting degree, and surgical technologist degree that I focused on while my son was growing up and in school. And almost nearly, the day he walked out of high school graduation, he said, "Mom, you should go back to real estate." So I did. And a lot of it had to do with, he watched me work so hard and receive so little. that, we wanted to see more. We wanted to have more. And I've taken some, big name companies to, some top levels and, for $10 an hour,
Hmm.
so I'm doing all this work and, you're receiving all of the benefits of my hard
Yeah.
work. I want to receive more benefits for my hard work.
Yeah. So, you originally got into real estate in 2000.
Mhm,
And then in 2007 is when you really wanted to just go back into the career field just to
mhm.
create some more consistency of when you're available, when you're not available.
Yeah.
What, you know, eh, when you decide, and I'm always curious about this, when you decided to get into real estate, it was the experience, right? Of someone was willing to help you really accomplish your goals and your dreams of home ownership, and for you that was important because no one in your family had done it before you.
Mhm,
What was that decision like in 2000 for you? Because obviously there's a time period of graduating high school to that moment, right? Of
mhm,
why, not specifically why real estate, but when you got in, doubters, supporters, because a lot of times, and I had this conversation today, and if those that are watching, if you don't know, and Ron, I don't know if you know this, but every morning there's an app called Clubhouse.
mhm.
It's a
I know about
social
it. Mhm,
audio app. So every morning I lead the call Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. And it's just real estate professionals, real estate agents, lenders, title, it doesn't matter.
mhm,
And and we just had this conversation today around security and what you just said, building other people's business versus building your own business. And
mhm,
with that, most people will say, well, why are you getting into a career where it's 100% commission based? There's no
mhm,
security there.
mhm.
And a lot of times, I'm always curious of, did you have more supporters or did you have more doubters? And what was, what fueled you to go through 2000 to 2007? What did that success look like for you at that time?
So I can't really recall, to be honest with you, what that success was like because it was a whole different world. Things were done differently back then. You had a giant catalog. There was no technology. There weren't even cell phones really. I probably did have a car phone that was probably like as big as my TV here. But there was no technology. It was really hard. So I can't remember a whole lot of it. I wasn't a top producer then. I feel I am now. It was a different time, just a whole different process. And there's really no comparison. I like it now a whole lot better. Um, but getting into real estate, I mean, I just knew whatever I chose to do, I have to be successful in that. No one else is going to do that for me.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So then you make the decision, okay, 2007, right? Your son's about to be doing all the sports, doing all those things. You needed some more stability, not in time, right? And in life. And you did that for you said 15 years?
Yeah. So in 2007, my son was 8 or 9 years old. We relocated from Columbus. At that time, the economy was just going nuts. The housing market was crashing. And it was just crazy all over. I discovered Ada, Ohio. My brother had moved to Ada, Ohio, and we would visit. And I just felt it was a really safe, peaceful place that my son could have the same experience growing up similar to what I had, riding his bicycle to the park and to the swimming pool all summer and, being able to stay home if he and being safe. So we relocated in 2007 to Ada, Ohio. And then at that time, I really wouldn't have been able to make it even if I wanted to stay in real estate because it's all about your sphere of influence. I knew
Yeah.
nobody but my brother and his wife and their kids. So I knew that real estate would not be a success for me. Um, I was in the dental field at that time. So I did get a position working for a dentist and then again furthered my career in surgery and medical because in Northwest Ohio and in a lot of the rural areas, you have a couple choices. It's factory or
Yeah.
factory. maybe a hospital or two, because I did work for, but those are your choices. You're very limited. And the mindset in the smaller communities for the folks who don't think out of the box, who aren't willing to drive 25 miles to go to work for that extra 50 cents on the hour, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
They're staying confined to this this area that they know and that they're familiar. So then it makes even the positions that are available, those are even more tough, because you got you're more open. You'll take another position, but this person isn't. They're from the community. They want to stay in the community. So you kind of, you're very limited. I worked for some fabulous doctors and dentists, just amazing. And I couldn't be happier with the fields that I chose. That's one of my target clients are medical professionals in surgery and dental.
I was going to ask you, what was that transition life going from a big city to a very small town? Um, I'm always curious. I grew up in a very small town, so
Well, I've written a couple papers for college. I've written a couple papers for college. Early on, when I first moved to Ada, it was a big change. Social media still wasn't a big thing then. So I would send cards, write letters to my friends and family. That was a big thing for me. That was the real true way for me to stay in touch. So, I sent out a lot of letters, a lot of cards. And that's one thing that I'm known for, is sending cards with confetti in them. So I stayed in touch that way. And I do intend on writing another paper after I've had the experience. I've been here for 15 years, and I have got to see things in a whole different way. So initially, yes, I did write a paper for college, a compare and contrast paper, the urban area as opposed to rural. And I think about that a lot, and I am going to circle back around and write another one, because I am working on a bachelor's degree.
no, I love it. So did you keep your license active while you were still doing all of the dental stuff, or did you just let it go and that's what you just focused on as your next career?
I let it go, because here's what I said. What the straw that broke the camel's back for me when I got out of real estate was, like I said, we didn't have technology.
Yeah.
So I had went like to Delaware from Columbus in like this blizzard to show someone a house, and they didn't show up. And so then, we didn't have cell phones. So I had to wait until I got like back to the office or back home or whatever to get to a landline to call and say, hey, where's Johnny at? He didn't show up. And the person says, oh, well, he was looking at a few other houses, and I'm like, well, I was only showing him one. So obviously he's working with multiple agents. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's it. I'm not risking my life. I drove through like a blizzard to get here, and, they don't appreciate it. So I said, like, that's it. So that was kind of why I got out of it. So it wasn't like a heartbreak. I did not keep my real estate license active, because I said, I'm never selling another house. I'm never doing anything with real estate, ever again. But there are people who need me, because for me, it's not about the money. I'm not calculating, when I take a new client, what am I going to get out of it? My goal is to get you in a home and make you a homeowner and help you reach your goals. So it wasn't hard for me, to go back, because I knew that's what my passion was to help folks.
I was gonna say, did you miss it while you were away?
I didn't really miss that. Like I said, things were, the field was totally different.
Yeah.
I also worked in hospitality. So while I was also working, for surgeons and dental, things like that, I also had part-time jobs. It was never enough. The money I was making was just never enough. The degrees that I got, was just never enough. That pay just never ever came. And I'm complaining all the time now when I see like $20 an hour at Five Guys and Fries, and I'm like, I had 3 degrees and couldn't even get $13 an hour, in
Hmm.
rural Ohio.
Hmm.
I'm like, I would have worked at Five Guys, for a couple weeks, some fun stuff. But um, so, the degrees that I have, I worked really hard on those. I love dental, I love oral surgery, I love medical, but I did also enjoy hospitality. I like the Hilton. I'm a true believer of branding and name recognition. And so I only want to work for reputable folks, and because my reputation, is important. And I have to be behind something I believe in.
Sure.
So that's one thing. I'm not faking that. If I don't believe in a product or service, I can't try to sell it.
Yeah.
And I have to be totally confident in what I'm giving and doing before I can try to convince someone else of that. So I worked for Hilton for several years, as well as a couple other boutique hotels, one in Findlay, Ohio, called the Hancock Hotel. And I worked here in Ada, Ohio at the Ohio Northern University. They have their own boutique hotel called the Inn at Ohio Northern. So I worked for those hotels. And so I still got to get my fix of meeting with people, talking with people, networking. And I did a lot of marketing for these companies while I was their employee. So the Inn at Ohio Northern, when they would have events, they would ask me, do you want to do it? Do you want to be that person? That's, so yes, of course I did. So I've always been out there networking, matching people up, it's just part of me. It just comes
Yeah.
natural.
No, I love it. So what year did you decide to come back into real estate?
2019. It was June of 2019. That's the year that I sold my home to my son. Um, and then I sold one other house. So I sold two houses from June to the end of the year. I didn't really work hard because so I didn't really have to work real hard. I got some systems into place. Then 2020 was, an awesome year. I mean, it's just been awesome, just awesome for me. My income is, doubled and tripled. My clients are getting, just more and more amazing. I mean, they all are, but
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
you have like a lot of situations. Like I went to look at a house with one client and it was boarded up. The house was boarded up. We had to take, screwdrivers and power drills and everything and get it, the boards off the door so we could even go in. And there was this bat. It was this bat like wrapped up with barbed wire in between the board and the door, as if to say, like, take this in with you, like to protect yourself. And that was this year. And after that happened, I'm like, Lord, please bless me, with things that I don't have to worry about, going into a house. And I have to protect myself and fend for my life.
Yeah.
So it's just been great. And, everything is a lesson. Everything is a learning experience is how I take it.
I love that. And Rhonda, what did you focus on? Obviously, by the time you got back in 2019, right, you're more established in the community, more people, right? Your sphere of influence has grown. Is that how you focused on growing your business when you got back in 2019?
It is, but I also knew that there was a service to be provided, and that's home ownership. I mean, the whole home ownership. I mean, if you've been to college, you have degrees, you need certain things in life, just the basics, air, water, food, but you also need safe shelter and
Yeah.
stability. And without those things, you cannot progress to have those other feelings of safety and security. You have to have these basic things. And it makes a whole hell of a difference in how you grow up, how you see things. I have one son, he's my assistant, as I said. He lived in the same house, all his life growing up for the most part. Well, until he was age 8, and then I bought another home. So then I was a homeowner of 2 homes. And so he's never been shuffled around renting. We have just been in control of our lives in that aspect.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of difference because we have seen real estate wealth with our properties. I come from a, moderate income family, had to work for everything we had. And real estate is really a way for people to see some kind of wealth.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe in that. I mean, the one house that I had bought for $30,000, it probably made me $250,000, $300,000 in income over the course of that 25, 30 years.
Yeah. 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 There's an agent on our team. When I got into the business, I was 22 years old and I was just a young, cocky kid, right? And I bring this
Mhm,
up now a lot because there's an agent on our team who grew up, always in a rental property, right? Like that's just his mom never bought a home or anything like
mhm,
that. And, he would always tell me, and he's older than me and he's a really good friend. And he'd always tell me, hey, we're changing lives. And like,
mhm,
at 22, I didn't believe that because I've always lived in a home, right? I've always had those things. And
mhm,
I believe that real estate is an investment. Like, I think that way, but I didn't really understand the impact of home ownership at that time. I was more of pound the phones, help people buy real estate onto the next, right? Pound the phones, help people buy real estate onto the next. And I've helped investors and stuff, build portfolios and things like that, but it just wasn't clicking in my head. And
mhm,
that story that you just shared of like, being able to buy a piece of property for 30 grand and it turning into a couple $100,000, down the road, that is huge impact. And now
mhm.
that I always say I'm older and wiser in my years, I can truly, understand, of like, hey, this is not just a transaction, right? If,
Mhm,
this could be an opportunity. And one of my clients 6, 7 years ago, her first home that she bought, she was like 60 some years old, right? That
mhm.
and it's just put things in perspective for me over the years. And that's an awesome and powerful story that
You know,
you just shared.
and the thing is too, I'm helping, people like you said, some people are 60 years old buying their first house, but
Yeah.
it was the mindset and the society, the societal norms, and people being fearful of, if I buy this house, I'm going to have to fix the furnace. I'm going to have to fix the roof.
Yeah.
What if I get a leak? Because they were used to a landlord or someone else having that responsibility. But let's just keep it honest, most of the times the renters don't call the landlord when they have a problem anyway. So then they're still, living with the broke, this or that appliance, or, the leak in the roof. And, because they don't want to interrupt anyone. They don't want to get anyone mad at them because they're asking for something. It was the mindset and just the norm. And a lot of people think like, well, I'm 60, why would I want to buy a house now? Because I'm going to be dead in 30 years
Yeah.
and the mortgage is a 30-year loan. But there's more to it than that, and it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be 30 years. I look at that as, real estate as an investment for my future. That's my retirement. I don't have a 401k. When I did okay. And okay, by every quarter, I might make 20 bucks when most people were making like 10 cents. So I did okay, but is making $500 a year off of my $20,000 really smart? No, it's not.
Right.
So real estate is definitely, in my opinion, the way of the future. If you want to have a retirement plan, you better have some real estate. Social Security, I don't believe, is going to be a viable income for most people. I have never expected to receive that kind of benefit. I'm 53. I've worked since I was 15 years old. And I paid into that system, but I don't ever expect to see a penny of it. And
Yeah.
that's just reality.
Yeah. Rhonda, I wanted to get tactical because, I think your story is very unique in that you were in real estate for, a good while, 6, 7 years, right? And then
Mhm,
you got out of the business for 15 years and
mhm,
now, you're getting back in. And when you got in, right, we've been on one hell of a run. At least here in Columbus. I don't know about Ada, Ohio. I'm assuming, do you just focus in Ada, or do you go outside to, do you like touch Lima and all of that, or just in your immediate area? And the reason why I ask is we don't have many small town agents on here, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
the one thing that I always tell agents, especially in a market like this where things are slowing down and all of those things, I said the one thing that we're fortunate about here in Central Ohio is that we have a very large population, right?
mhm,
It's not like we're in a small town where, there's only 100 homes that may sell every single year, right?
mhm.
So tactically speaking, getting back into the business, right? 2019, 2020, obviously the market was great. How did you go about growing your business? And did you expand, or have you expanded your business since things have changed with interest rates and inventory? I'm curious of the differences between your marketplace and our marketplace, and how you grew your business and how you think about your business.
So, as I said, I've worked for some, some top performing companies. Ameritech Phone Company was one. Hilton Brand is another. Several big companies. So I've always had top-notch customer service training.
Mm,
So I've always had that customer service skill, and always ingrained, embedded in me to be fluid. That means constantly changing. That means rolling with the punches. That means whatever comes your way, adapt, change, be fluid. It was very difficult for me because I'm the outsider. I didn't grow up in Ada. I didn't go to school with all of these folks who went to school with the agents here in Ada, Ohio. And let me also say, I cover all of Ohio. So I definitely am not just confined to Ada. That would not sustain me, because you're right. It is a small community. And with that being said, I come in with a different mindset, different experiences, different skills, different talents, different ways of doing things that maybe the small town has this mindset. This isn't the way we do it. This isn't,
yeah,
we don't know what you're doing, and this is how we do it. So I had to work through those challenges, and through trial and error, figure out just what the hell is going on. A lot of dual agency takes place,
mm,
and a lot of dual agency takes place immediately when the house goes on the market. Then I don't have an opportunity to get my buyers in there. Because I always have, buyers and sellers. I have
yeah,
a dozen clients at every given moment. I have a dozen clients. And so, I always have someone, and they tie these houses up almost immediately. And so, it's been 3 years of me, trial and error, and helping my clients the best I could. But the thing is, I figured it out. What is going on is, because I am all over the state of Ohio. Some of these agents in rural towns, they don't go anywhere but that
right,
town.
right.
So they have to have that business. That's their lifeline.
Hmm.
They have to have both sides of that transaction to make what I make on just the buyer end.
Right.
Um, Pay is different. Just everything is different. Not all are realtors. We all know that. So they're not all operating with that same best practices and ethical standards that we adhere to, being a National Association of Realtor professional.
Yeah,
So it's very challenging. Um, just working smarter and harder
yeah.
has kept me performing the way I have. And I'm all over Ohio. I will be in Columbus a little bit later. I'm in Hardin County right now. I have a walkthrough at 4 o'clock for a property in Ohio. And I mean, a normal day for me, I could be in 4 or 5 cities a day.
I always tell people it's like, as real estate agents, you get to decide what your business looks like, right? If
Mhm,
you want to specialize in one part of town, great. If you want to be all over
mhm,
the place, that's awesome. There's no
mhm,
run one right way. Like,
mhm,
I personally can't imagine doing business in Lima, Ohio, or somewhere that's an hour and a half away from me, or an hour
mhm,
away from me, because that's just not my business model, right?
Mhm.
But there are people, and I know other agents, like I know like Akron, Canton area, right? They go up to Cleveland and they go over to Youngstown, and because they just have a wider territory, and that's why I love doing these, is because I can't even imagine, doing what you're doing, and I don't even mind being in the car, right?
Uh-huh.
So like it's just I just can't imagine doing it. So Rhonda, I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and move more for future pacing of kind of where you want to, you want to grow your business. What's something that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months within your real estate business?
In my business. So the first thing I want to do is finish my bachelor's degree. Um, I would also like to have some autopilot kind of systems in place. The little things that I don't need to do personally, just a flawless system, and that will be worked on this fall. So I just want to have things more streamlined, even better than they are. I want to work about 9 months out of the year. And when I say that, I mean driving around work, because I'm always
Yeah.
working at my desk. And so my goal is to get things more streamlined, and things flowing a little bit better. I mean, business has just been great for me. I have seen some challenges, but I've overcame those, and I just keep moving forward.
I think that's one of the hardest things to do as real estate agents, is working on the business, taking the time to
Mhm.
put the systems in, and getting uh, getting used to the feel that you don't always have to be in the business working and going finding that next client. It's equally important to be working on the business, because when done right, those systems and those processes and all of those things should make everything run a little bit more smoother, more efficient, right? So now you can go out and grow your business even bigger, but you have to be willing to take time away from in the business to on the business and putting those systems in
Mhm.
place. So what's something that you're looking to accomplish in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I mean, it would be nice to have an office. It would be nice to have an office. Maybe do more mentoring. I do help a lot of agents reach their goals, um, and help them with marketing ideas. Because I truly believe that, I mean, in real estate, everybody's a competition
Yeah,
in most people's minds, but not mine. My only
right.
competition is me. And so I believe that, what's meant for me is coming to me, whether it's a month, a year, 10 years, it's coming. I'm good. I'm really big on manifestation. And so I truly believe that, agents, you don't know what you don't know. They need help too. And if I know something that works and something that made a transaction easier for me, and I have a friend who's an agent who needs that help, you're not a competition to me. I want to see you successful. I want to see all of, my friends, my coworkers, my colleagues be successful in everything you want. I want you to be just as successful as me, and I want to help you get there. There are some agents, and I'm, working with one now who she's been an agent for 3 years and has not had one sale.
Wow. Yeah.
There was another agent that I worked with in one of my other locations, same situation. You limit yourself sometimes. You just limit yourself, and I'm there to help them. I want to see them be successful and flourish. So I'm going to give all that help. So helping more. I mean, I wouldn't mind having like a license in Florida for part of the year, I haven't really looked out, the 5 year. I'm just so busy. My main thing is, I want to get, my degree finished. I'm doing some things around my house because I don't have any pets at this time. I would like to see my nonprofit organization, which is called Urban Storm Dog Foundation. I would like to see that come to life and actually have a heaven on earth for the pets to just run around. So I do have a nonprofit organization, and that is one of the biggest things that I would like to see, happen, is for that to get the things that we need for the pets that we want to take care of. And just keep growing the business, keep helping folks become homeowners and realize that dream or that goal that they thought was impossible. And I'm actually, helping 3 different generations. So when I was an agent, years ago, I'm helping those folks again. I'm helping their children and I'm helping their grandchildren.
Oh,
And in
wow.
some cases, I've had, the grandma, the daughter,
Right.
and the child all as clients. And of course, Sally wants to know what's going on with Johnny's transaction. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. I'm very, very good at keeping things confidential. I will tell my clients when I'm working with multiple family members, I cannot tell you anything. You have to ask them. So confidentiality is huge with me. Being in dental, being in medical field, being in hospitality, it all just goes hand in hand. So yeah, I'm just going to keep working and helping those folks reach their goals.
No, I love it. I love it. And I leave, this next question off so that way you guys don't know it that I'm going to be asking it. But I'm always curious. What's a legacy goal for you? What's something that you're looking to hit? Something that you want to accomplish when you're no longer here?
Something when I'm no longer here. Well, my son will be a great representation of me. I get a lot of compliments on his mannerisms, his professionalism. So that would be a great legacy for him to continue to be the wonderful man that he is and productive in society. But in addition to that, I would love for my Urban Storm Dog Foundation to flourish and to be able to be that physical rescue and rescue those dogs and cats that need us.
What Tell us a little bit more about that. What do you need help with? How can we help you as a community?
Okay, so I've always had Rottweilers. Those dogs are prone to cancer. And I myself, as you know, I was a homeowner since age 24, and I had 2 Rottweilers at that time. And the first one that got cancer, you got to treat them or you don't. You have the money or you don't.
Yeah.
You get to keep them alive, or maybe have to make that choice to put them down. And, I've had to do that. All of my dogs have had cancer. And, you think like, what about these? And I was a homeowner, and each time I faced these challenges, I'm like, I'll refinance my house. I'll sell, whatever I got to do to take care of my dog, because that's like your child.
Yeah.
When your kid gets sick, you're not like, well, put them down. No. So that's like your child, and like, what can I do? I'll do anything. I'll give anything to make, it right. And, there are folks who don't have that. They have
Yeah.
nothing, some people just need to get, dog food. So years ago, I decided like, I want to help. I want to, help folks. And I paid just with my own credit card. Someone might, their dog might have bit into something and got,
Right.
whatever it was, I could help. And my friend Mary, who I worked with at one of the surgery centers, she was a nurse and still is. And she was rescuing cats, taking them in and taking them to her farm and taking care of them out of pocket. And so Mary and I teamed up. I help her with linens, with just different things. And then we actually formed a 501c3 nonprofit to where we can hopefully get some bigger donations in that. Mary has a big farm with several buildings that she houses these cats in, and she takes care of everything out of pocket. We want to get some heating and cooling in there. We want to get a fence put up to keep the coyotes from, stealing the cats. We want to do some more transporting animals, when, let's say in Georgia, there's a, family of, dogs that need rescued and brought to Cleveland.
Right.
Do more of that. So right now our big goal is to get some fencing put up around the property. And then the next one will be heating and cooling because the winters are brutal and so are the summers.
Yeah.
So that's what we want to do for Urban Storm. And again, we want to make, at some point we want to have like a heaven on earth for them. Just how we picture heaven, fields, and ponds and flowers and just everyone's running and, so happy. That's what I want to see those dogs and cats doing.
I love that. I love that. Rhonda, last question for you, and I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing your journey, sharing, your success and building your business. If you could give our audience one piece of advice that maybe that you wish you had when you got into the business, or I know you're getting into a little bit more of mentorship, one that you share with other agents, what would that be?
I mean, you just don't know what you don't know. There's so many systems, so many apps and things. There might be 5 different CRM apps to use. There's just so much, and it's so difficult sometimes to figure out what this is for. How does this work? What does it cost? The biggest thing I would say is don't get in over your head. Don't spend a bunch of money you don't have. I don't pay for leads. I do not pay for leads at all. My business is referrals. I will say social media is probably going to be the easiest, most economic thing for them, because that is their sphere of influence. That is their people.
Hmm.
Those are their people there, and that's going to be your first, your first line there is your sphere of influence. Do the things that you love. It just comes natural for me to send out cards. Like I said, when I moved, how would I keep in touch? I sent out cards. It just comes natural for me. Everybody knows when they get a card from me, or they'll know now after they see this podcast. When they get a card from me, it's probably got confetti in it. It's going to make a mess. Some know, and it's a surprise. And so that works good for me. I love sending people cards, birthday cards, whatever the case may be. That works good for me, but that might not be something that works for you. You gotta, just find what it comes natural for you, and do that. But the biggest part is, I mean, you don't know what you don't know, so you got to ask questions. You got to
Hmm.
ask questions, and you got to get that help. And I can help. They can call me. I take questions. I help folks all the time. I'll make time for them and help them, because no one helped me. And if I wasn't so determined and had my knowledge, my background, my education, my will to succeed, maybe I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
And not everybody has everything they need right there, but you can build it, you can learn it. Not everybody has the customer service experience that I have, but that's okay, because you can be just as good.
Hmm.
So I say ask questions. Um, Not everybody's going to get the same attention, from their maybe their management. Everybody's styles are different. You just got to find out what works for you. And I say, ask those agents. Don't be afraid. And they can reach out to me. Like I said, you're not a competition for me. I will help you.
Yeah. I love that. You said it in the very beginning, you're a life learner, right? And I think that's
Mhm.
the one thing in real estate of, um, not one day is the same. You always have to be willing to grow and learn and ask questions. So, Rhonda, thanks so much for joining us today. And, for those that are watching in, if you've connected with her story or with her and you're thinking about buying, selling, investing, or just another agent, right? That's on
Mhm.
here
Perfect.
watching these or listening in. Her number is down below for those that are watching. But Rhonda, for those that are listening in on the podcast, what is the best way for someone to connect with you so they can talk to you about real estate?
Sure. You can find me on Facebook, Rhonda Crouse, or you can call my phone at 419-673-6485. Text, call, shoot me a message on Messenger or Facebook. That's my biggest platform is Facebook. So you can reach me on Facebook.
Awesome. Rhonda, thanks so much. I really enjoyed, getting to connect with you and hearing your story. And like I said, not to find success in this business, there's not one way. And I really just appreciate you coming on here and sharing with us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And again, if anyone needs to call me, please feel free to do that. I'll make time for you, and we'll get something figured out to get you positioned for success.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, John. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, you too.
Bye bye.